Hi everyone, Scorpion Bytes here. I hope you're having an amazing day. Today's video is going to be a full Cursor AI tutorial for beginners. First, let's briefly see what Cursor AI is. Cursor AI is an AI-powered code editor. As the documentation says, it is a fork of VS Code, so you will feel quite familiar with it if you used VS Code before. Now, what exactly does Cursor AI bring on top of VS Code? The main purpose of Cursor AI is to fill the gap between your IDE or code editor and AI models. It basically enables you to interact with the AI model as you would pair program with it. Let's explore its features by practice. In this tutorial, I'm going to build a weather dashboard starting from a Figma design. I will use Remix, a technology I have never used before because I'm a backend engineer. Let's see if this AI code editor can help me navigate a new technology. Good, so I created an empty directory, weather dashboard, in which we will create our project. Now I will press Ctrl+L to open the chat window. Here basically we have several options. First, we can choose what AI model we want to use. So we can choose between different versions of GPT and Claude Sonnet. And for this project I will use Claude Sonnet. Also we have mentions. Those are ways to send context to the AI. So we can send files, folders, code. For now we cannot choose anything because we do not have any files or folders in our project. But we'll see this later in the tutorial. Also, we can send as a context a website and also the entire codebase. Also, we have the option to upload an image, and we'll do this in order to create the interface. And also we have several options to create a new chat, view the history and close this panel. Now let's go add our prompt. So in order to save time, I pasted this prompt in which I say that I want to create a weather dashboard in Remix. I will provide you an image with the design later. Now help me with the prerequisites. I created an empty folder for my application. I never used Remix before, how should I start? So let's press enter and see the answer. So basically it says, great, I'll be happy to help you with the weather dashboard app. Here are the steps you need to follow. So it basically gives me step by step how I should start with this. First, it tells me to install the Node.js. Then it tells me how to create a Remix project and it gives me the command. Then it tells me that I should follow the prompts for this command. After this, I need to install the dependencies. And after this, I can run the development server. And I will probably have some kind of default Remix app on my local host. After this, it gives me some details about how Remix works and tells me that once I have the design image ready, feel free to share it and I can provide you with more specific guidance on implementing the UI and the functionality for your weather dashboard. Good, so now let's start executing each step. I will skip the install Node.js one because I already have Node.js on my machine. But the second step is create a new Remix project. So we have this bash terminal window here and we have three buttons. The first button is ask. And if I press this, it basically adds the command as a context to the AI and I can ask a follow-up question. But I do not have any questions, so I will not ask one. After this, I have the option to copy the command or to run the command. So I will just press run to send this command to the terminal. So it launches the terminal and runs the command for me. Basically now we are at the third step where we need to follow the prompts. I will fast forward this part to save time. Good, so the command basically finished the execution and now we have our application generated. The next step is to install the dependencies, but during the prompts, I was asked if I want to install the dependencies with npm and I said yes, so basically I can skip this part now. Now the next step is to start the development server. So I will press run in this window here and see what happens. So it looks like we have our app running on localhost. Let's check this out. So we have our Remix basic project and from here we will start to build our weather dashboard application. Good, so now let's start building our application. And since we have already this basic Remix project, the first thing I'm going to do is to ask Cursor to remove all the unnecessary code. Again, to save some time, I pasted here the prompt. I say now I have the generated Remix project, help me remove all the unnecessary code so that I can start building my weather dashboard. Also, I will add here at codebase so that it knows that it has to scan all the project files. So as you can see, it basically indexes my code bases, and after this it generates a response. Basically, it gives me for each file what code I have to remove. So let's take each of these step by step. First, it tells me to replace the content of index.tsx with a simplified version. And as you can see, I have the simplified version here. And also I have three buttons: ask, copy, and apply. So I can simply press apply, and this will basically open the file and show all the changes similar to a git merge request. So I can either accept each change or reject it. First, let me make the terminal a little bit smaller so you can see the code. And now let's have a quick look at the changes. So it basically changes the title and the description, and it also removes the unnecessary code on the main page. So I will just accept all the changes. Now let's move to the next file. Now the second step is about root.tsx. And it says that the current structure is good, but we can simplify it slightly. So it gives me, I guess, a simplified version of it. But this is a bit strange because I do not have an apply button here. And if I scroll a bit, it says keep this file as is, since it contains the necessary structure for a remix app. So this is honestly a bit confusing because it says that it can be simplified, but on the other hand, it says here that I should keep it as it is. So let's just open a bit this file and see if it actually tries to change anything. So honestly, I cannot see any difference, so I will skip this. Also, the third step is about package.json, but actually it tells me that I should keep it as it is, so I will not change anything. And after this, it basically tells that we clean up the project and we can move forward with the dashboard application. Good, now the first step, as it says here, would be to create the components for our application. But since I never used Remix, I will ask the AI to do it. So I pasted the prompt here saying that help me create the components. I will attach a picture with the design. The dashboard will contain only the main page dashboard itself. For the moment, let's use mock data. We will handle the data fetch later. And now I will also add the image with the design, so it gets an idea of what I want to do. So as you can see, I added the image and now I will press enter. Good, so it basically says that I can see your design for a header dashboard. Let's break it down into components and create them using mock data. We will focus on the structure and layout first, and then we will refine the styling later. After this, it suggests me the component structure, so we'll have a header, the current weather dashboard, weather details, 5-day forecast, and so on. So after this, it says, let's start by creating these components. I'll provide a basic structure for each component using TypeScript and Tailwind CSS. First, let's create a new folder under app/components and add the following files. And then we have our header.tsx file, and we can actually apply it. I'm not sure if it will create a folder or not. Let's see. So it asks me if I want to apply to root.tsx, and I will say cancel because I do not want this. So let's go create our components folder manually. And now also create the header.tsx file inside. So now let's try the apply button again. And now it asks me if I want to apply the changes to header.tsx. So it saw the new file. I will say continue. So I will accept the changes. And now let's move to the second step. I'll also create this file here. And now I will press apply. Yes, I want to apply the changes to current weather.tsx. I will accept the changes. Let's move on to the weather details.tsx. And I will keep doing this for all the components. And now as the last step, it says that I should update my index.txt file to use these components. So I'll just click apply and accept the changes. And in the end, it basically says that this is the structure for the basic application. We'll need to refine the styling, then implement the toggle functionality for the dark mode, and also set up an API service. So let's go check out how the dashboard looks at this point. It looks quite nice. Let's also check a bit the design and see the difference. So this was the picture and this is how it looks like. Of course it's not the same, but as it says in the response, we will refine the style later. Good, so now let's try refining the styling so it looks as much as possible as the picture. I will start with the header component. So the first thing, I will try to add a similar icon at the left part of this button. So for this, I will select this button, I will press Ctrl plus K, and I will prompt the AI to add the icon. For this example, I will use the location icon.png file under assets folder. So to send this as a context to the AI, I will use a mention. So I will say use, at, from the pop-up I will select files, and I will start to type location, and I will select location.png. And I will say use location.png as an icon. So it suggests me some changes, but I already see some error in the console. But let's just accept it as they are, and I will ask a follow-up question. So Control Enter, and as you can see, it added this image tag here. Now let's check how it looks like. So as you can see, there is an image, but probably you cannot find it. So let's go back to the cursor, and I will ask here a follow-up question. As you can see, I already have the header.tsx as a context. So I said that the icon is not displayed, looks like the file cannot be found. So let's see what it suggests. So basically it tells me that we should install React icons, but honestly I do not think this is right because we just have a .png file on local. Anyway, I will try to clarify it. Okay, so basically I tell it that no, I mean the icon for the location is not displayed, the one for which I use the local file under my assets folder. And I also added, as I mentioned, the code base, so I make it search the entire code and find the problem. Okay, so basically in this response, it tells me something that I should move the icon under a public folder, but honestly, I am not satisfied with this response, and I will ask it to use the import from the current folder. Okay, so in this prompt, basically I tell it use an import to add the image from its current location, and I give it the location to the file. Basically, I searched a bit on the internet how to import a file in Remix, so I give him a hint here with this import. Alright, so basically in this response, it tells me that I can use an import like this, and after this, we'll refer that import in the image tag. And this is basically the response that I was expecting. So I'll click apply, and I will accept the changes. After this, it also suggests me some changes that I should make, but honestly, from what I searched on the internet, they are not required, so I'll not apply this. And I'll just leave it like this, and now let's go check the application. So as you can see, we have the icon here, so we're good. Now the next change I want is to make this toggle a little bit bigger and put the text under it. Let's go back to cursor. So I will select the code for the toggle part. I will press Ctrl plus K, and I say to place the text under the toggle. I will accept the changes and let's check how it looks. So it actually put the text at the right of the toggle, so let's go fix this. So I accepted the changes and now it looks okay. Now let's add some more padding to the header. For this, I'll go here. I already have header.tsx file selected, so I'll ask it to add more padding. So it suggests me some changes, and after this it gives me some explanation. Let's just apply and accept it and hope it will be okay. Let's check the output. So as you can see now it looks better, but it also added this gray background, so I'll ask it to remove it. Let's click apply and accept the changes. and now it's better. Good, now let's also style a bit this component here to make the text more centered. So for this I go to the currentweather.tsx and I will ask here to make it look better. So this is basically the prompt: style the component, center the text, and add some space to make it look more close to the picture. Let's see. Alright, so let's apply the changes and see how it looks. So this is better and more close to the design. Now we can continue to style all the three components, but this probably will make the tutorial too long. Instead, now let's try something else and actually fetch the data from a real API. So for this, I'll go to the 5-day forecast component. So now let's see how we can use the web mention. So I said search the web for what public API we can use to fetch the real data. So as you can see here, I use the @web mention. So it basically identified a list of public APIs. And also in the end here, it says that for our project, I would recommend using either OpenWeather API or OpenMeteo API. So let's go further with OpenWeatherMap API. So basically the prompt now is, okay, what changes should I do to fetch data from OpenWeatherMap API for my 5-day forecast component? So as you can see, I send this component as a mention. So basically it gives me all the steps that I need to make in order to fetch the data from OpenWeather API. First, I'll need to sign up for a free API key. Then I'll need to put this key in a .env file. And then I'll need to update the component. Also, I will need to update the white.config.ts to include the environment variables. And it also tells me that I should install React icons to actually display real icons for the data that we fetch. Good, so now I made the first step and I created my API key. Now let's proceed with the next step. So I have to create a .env file in my project root and add my API key. And for this I will create another terminal. And from here I will press Ctrl+K. And as you can see, we also have AI integrated in the terminal, so we can type here something in natural language and it will generate the command in the terminal for us. So let's just copy this thing here. So I'll just say create a .env file in my root project. So it puts the command in the terminal and I will press Ctrl Run to execute the command. So as you can see, I have an error in the terminal and I have these three buttons: add to chat, add to composer, or debug with AI. Let's try debug with AI. So it says that the error that I'm encountering is due to the difference in command syntax between Windows command prompt and PowerShell. To create an empty env file in PowerShell, I can use some of these alternatives. So I will go with the first alternative and I will click run, which doesn't seem to do anything, so I'll copy the command and paste it into the terminal. So now, as you can see, everything is okay and I have this env file here. Now let's change the chat to the previous one. And it looks like I have to manually scroll down. Alright, so here we are. So basically I have to add this key and my API key. So I'll just copy this. Actually I will hit apply. And I will accept the changes and I will paste here my API key. Good, so I pasted the API key. Now let's move on to the next step. So it suggests some changes in 5-day forecast.txx. So again, I will just accept the changes because I want to create this dashboard with at least input from me as possible. So I accepted the changes. I have an error here, but it's probably because I haven't installed the React icons yet. So let's continue with the steps. So at the fourth step, I also have to update the config.ts to include the environment variable. So I will apply the changes. And at the last step, it tells me to install the React icons. So let's click run. It runs the command in the terminal and the package is successfully installed. So let's check the node terminal. As you can see, we have an error here, but let's try to restart it because we just installed the packages. So let's run again. So now it should be okay. Let's check the output. So as you can see, there is no data here. Let's check what is wrong. So after checking the browser console, I noticed that our API key is undefined. So let's try to fix this. So I told it that no data is fetched I check the browser console and the API ID is undefined. Fix this. So as you can see, it says that I apologize for the oversight. This issue is likely due to how the environment variables are handled in Remix. Let's fix this by using Remix built-in way of handling environment variables. There is actually no update in the .env file because this is what I have here at the moment. After this, we have to create a new file. So let's do this. And let's apply the changes. Now, next step is to update root.tsx. Let's do this. And again, accept the changes. And we also need to update the 5-day forecast.tsx. So again, let's blindly accept the changes. Also, it tells me that we can revert the changes in config.ts. So I will just remove this part. So now let's check if it works. So as you can see, now we have another error, but it doesn't look the same. So let's check our network tab. And as you can see, looks like the API fetch works okay because we have a 200 status code here. So probably now we have another issue. Let's try to fix this. So I'll go to this component and paste here the error that I get in the console. So I pasted the error and let's see what it suggests. So the structure of data received from the open weather map is actually different and it gives us some update. Let's accept it. So it also explained the changes, so it just changed an interface. Let's see if it works. Let's restart the page. So now it actually looks okay. So as you can see, we have here 5 days forecast with data fetched from the public API. Let's also open the network tab to make sure that all the calls are okay. So it looks okay, status 200, so we're good. Now we can continue to style these components, but I will not do it as part of this tutorial because the scope is to learn cursor, not remix. So the last thing I'm going to do here is to remove those white strips at the left and right of the dashboard. So let's close this and go back to the cursor. So I'll go here and say I want to remove the white strips around my dashboard. And I also mention codebase because I do not know exactly in which file the changes should be made. Also, I will remove this 5 days forecast mentioned here because I only want to keep the entire codebase. Let's press enter. So it scanned all the files and says that in order to remove the white strips around my dashboard, I need to adjust the padding and background color in the main container. Let's update the index component in my app routes index.tsx. Here is how I can modify it. So this is the current content of the index file and we should replace it with this. Let's apply, but as you can see, it actually make an error here and asks me if I want to apply to 5-day forecast.tsx. I will cancel this and I will just manually copy this and go to index.tsx and I will replace it here. Let's also format the document a bit. Here I honestly didn't understood why it couldn't apply the changes as usual and I had to copy them manually, but anyway, let's go check the output. So as you can see, the white space disappeared and now it looks okay. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like and subscribe. It will help me a lot. And of course, if you have any questions or suggestions, drop a comment below. With that being said, keep learning and I'll see you next time.